All right, so I've been talking all week. You got Impact Wrestling that is coming to town this Friday and Saturday night. Winter Warfare, okay? Impact Wrestling at the Charles F. Dodge City Center here in Pembroke Pines. Very close to me. All right, I'm going. I'm taking my younger son. We're going to see Impact this Friday night. Tickets are available for both nights, Ticketmaster.com. And joining us here is Jai Vidal, who I will tell you, you were just signed to Impact Wrestling. And I will tell you, it was probably your last match. I was at CCW. It was maybe 3 weeks ago, I think it was, where you dropped the belt, right? 3 or 4 weeks ago down in Hialeah at Unbranded Brewing. I'm guessing that was your final match with CCW. I was there.
So yeah, I remember that one. It was a triple threat match,
Yeah.
yes, against two up and coming talents in Alan S2S Martinez and Chris Farrow. A phenomenal match. I absolutely loved it. I also had a match this past weekend at CCW as well at the same Unbranded Brewing Company. But no, CCW will always have a special place in my heart. They've always been very good to me, and it's actually my stomping ground. It's where I started.
It's funny, it was my first time coming out to CCW. I'm a lifelong look, we're a sports show, but I'm a lifelong pro wrestling fan, so I grew up WWF and I watched WWE all the time and I watch AEW all the time. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I want to come out to CCW. So we went out, me and my pal, and honest to God, I only knew a few of the wrestlers, like Gangrel. I obviously knew that was exciting to see him again. But I saw your triple threat match, and when the night was over, and I'm thinking to myself, of all the wrestlers that I saw tonight, there was one that really stood out, and it was you. It was that guy. And then, like a week or two later, I see the press release that Impact Wrestling signs Jai Vidal to a new multi-year deal. They also make note, of course, first openly gay wrestler that Impact has signed, and I'm like, that is not surprising to me at all because he was the one that I noticed that night.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for that. I mean, yes, I am super honored to be the first openly gay male wrestler that Impact Wrestling has signed. Like they honestly opened the doors for me as other, independent wrestling companies such as CCW have done in the past. And now it's like, okay, now we are on a way bigger scale here where we're going to reach international, levels of exposure. And I'm just so grateful for that.
So what do we do? Because obviously, it's in the press release, first openly gay wrestler that Impact is signed. Do you like being asked about it all the time? Or do you want to get to a place where it's like, yeah, and we just, the gay community altogether, we're going to be in a great place when it's not a big deal anymore. So what do you make of that?
Exactly. Yeah. I think there's two things on that. One, I do believe that I want to do my part in helping drop that stigma of being a gay wrestler, because when you say that you are a gay wrestler, then people already have a preconceived notion in their head. And a lot of times when they're not educated on the LGBTQ community, sometimes it could be, especially from things that they might be taught or whatever the case might be, who they grow up around, it might be negative. So I do want to get to that point where it's like, hey, he's a tremendous professional wrestler who happens to be gay. But with that same, in that same sentence, I also think it's important to have representation because it wasn't an easy journey getting here. I have had a lot of doors shut on me just because of my sexuality. And, for a company as big as Impact to say, you know what, no, gay people exist. Why can't we have a openly gay, I should say, professional wrestler on our platform?
It's very similar. Sports locker room. I'm sure, basketball, NFL, NBA, MLB. I'm sure their locker rooms are very similar to the pro wrestling locker room. And, I remember, what was it? It was a while ago. He wrestled under the name Darren Young in WWE, and he's an openly gay wrestler. And I remember hearing a story how when he came out and Randy Orton, who, of course, I mean, is, a legend. He's been around forever, where he pulled him aside and he said, listen, anybody gives you shit, you come and you tell me. Which is obviously an amazing thing for him to do as a veteran. So in pro wrestling locker rooms, like, is it becoming something that, like, who the hell cares? Like, we're all here to put on a show. Like, what's the atmosphere like these days?
I am very grateful to say that the atmosphere is phenomenal, especially in the Impact Wrestling locker room. And it's funny that you say that. I actually had Tommy Dreamer pull me aside at Impact, and he told me essentially the same thing. Hey, I just want you to know, if anybody gives you a hard time, if anybody messes with you, if anybody says anything that makes you feel, you come find me and you let me know. I've also had other higher ups tell me the same exact thing. And, to know that I am accepted in that locker room. And on that point too, I haven't, experienced any type of homophobia. I'm grateful that I haven't in the Impact locker room. Everybody's just been so kind and welcoming and, treating me as their equal, which was the goal all along, is for them to see, hey, you know what I mean? An LGBTQ talent can go in there and perform and be an equal, just treat me like another human being. That's it. And I'm grateful to say that they've done so.
So the crowds are going to start to get bigger for you now. All right. Like, have you thought about what it's going to feel like? Are you going to be able to control the nerves? Like, are you going to be super anxious the first time it's, a big crowd? What's going through your mind there?
I think that the nerves will always be there. I feel like the butterflies will always be there. It's funny that you mentioned Gangrel. He's my trainer and my mentor. And I remember one time we were going to go out, and it was a show from his school, from his wrestling school. And it was maybe in front of 100 people and 80 or 100 people. And he's like, I still get nerves. I still get the nerve. And I was like, how do you still get butterflies after all these years? And he's like, let me tell you something. When you stop having butterflies, that's when you quit the business. And I said, wow. That's true. And every time before I walk out there, I always do get the butterflies. But with Impact, it's funny because the times that I've gone out there performing for Impact, I get the shakes. And I've never gone the shakes before, but like right before that, I'm just right there on the stage and I just start shaking like crazy. But once I go out there, the energy transformed from nervousness into, okay, confidence, into just adrenaline and being able to release this passion and this energy in this way. I absolutely love it.
Impact Wrestling is here Friday and Saturday. Ticketmaster.com. Charles F. Dodge City Center, Pembroke Pines. Super affordable. All right, so you can go check it out right now. Ticketmaster.com this Friday and Saturday. My son and I, we're going on Friday night. So looking forward to seeing you there. Who did you grow up watching? Assume if it's WWE, maybe it was WCW. Who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
My favorite wrestler of all time, without a doubt, is Shawn Michaels. Like, I love, because he was really just going out there at a time when, let's say, being flamboyant wasn't popular, when it was a tough guy thing, and he was going out there being flamboyant. But boy, he would put on the best match of the card every night. There's a reason why they called him Mr. WrestleMania. It was Shawn Michaels is phenomenal, and I am a huge fan of his, and I actually study a lot of his work on a consistent basis.
Have you ever gotten to meet him?
No, not yet.
Do you think it's one of those deals? I wonder where, all right, you probably want to meet him, but like, how would that go? Because I have people that I want to meet, and I'm like, man, would I even have something to talk about? Like, I don't even know how that conversation would go. Maybe I'd be starstruck. I don't know. Like, do you wonder what it would be like if you met him?
So it's funny because being in the business, as in a lot of indie wrestling shows, they'll bring in big names. And I always wonder the same thing. How is it going to be? Some have been maybe, I don't want to say letdowns, but maybe expected more than and got less than. But some I've been like, for example, Ron Simmons was very, very nice to me. And, he comes from that old school era. So I didn't know if he would be, and he was, or if we're even talking, Impact Wrestling. I was able to sit in the back and have a conversation with the Motor City Machine Guns, who in my preteens and teens, I started watching in TNA, so for me, things like that are amazing when you actually meet people and they become better than what you expected.
They fulfill the expectations.
Yes, they exceed the expectations. Rhino is another one of them. Rhino is such a phenomenal human being. I could talk to him for hours. So, guys like that, and Tommy Dreamer as well. I absolutely love talking to those guys.
When you signed with Impact, like, who was the phone call that you made to tell this person that you were most excited or most proud to tell them that you got the deal?
Gangrel. Gangrel was the very first person that I called. when I found out that I was going to be signed by Impact. And I was just so, because to me, I'm one of his kids, you know what I mean? He's like a father figure to me in wrestling. So for me to be able to tell him, it just felt like, you know, all the times that, like you were hard on me, all the times that you had to have sit down and, I mean, have to be that wrestling dad with me, it worked out. And here we are. Here's, what I mean? The fruits of, the labor, because it, to, to raise, what's the saying? Like, to raise a king, it takes a village, right? So like, it really took a lot of people. It's not just me. It's people who believed in me. So people like Gangrel, or people even, in Impact, who took a chance on me, who were behind my corner, like Gail Kim, which I think, it's amazing, because she's another one that I grew up watching and admiring. And now to know that she's in my corner, backing me up, is really freaking awesome.
So Shawn Michaels, he's your all-time favorite. Your all-time favorite match is what?
That one is always hard, and I feel like I switch it up from time to time depending on like what my mood is. I think whenever I go back and watch it, my all-time favorite match at this moment, it might change like a few months from now depending on my mood, but I really want to say it's Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle. I believe it was WrestleMania 21, and those guys just went out there. It was a clash of styles, and they put on a classic, and I go back and watch that match, I want to say, at least once a month.
Do you have a moment where as a kid you like, this is the moment that hooked me on pro wrestling?
Yes. And for a lot of people, it's like, a super high profile match. For me, I was 4 years old, and we lived in a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, small apartment. It's all my parents could afford at the time. And, they had 3 kids. And my brother was a wrestling fan, my older brother. And I walk out and I remember seeing, I believe it was SmackDown. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Big Show giving a double choke slam to Taka Michinoku and Funaki Kai and Tai. And like, for me, I was just like, that was like, I was like, I don't know. I was like, what is this? I don't know what it is, but I love it. And ever since then, I would watch it religiously every week.
That is awesome. Finally here for Jai Vidal again this Friday and Saturday, Ticketmaster.com, Pembroke Pines, Impact Wrestling Winter Warfare, which it's, again, very affordable tickets. You come on out. Greatest entrance music in pro wrestling history is who?
Greatest entrance music. Man, I gotta say Gangrel's with the Brute, like
people love it.
It's not just me saying that because he's my trainer, right? But it's just the fact like that music would just hit.
Yeah.
And I'd say second to that, honestly, is Mickey James's Hardcore Country. Every time that goes on, Hardcore Country, like I'm always like, okay, yes, things about to go down.
Jai, great job. This was fun. Congratulations, obviously. Like I said, when I went to CCW a few weeks ago, if I had to pick one guy out who I think, like, you were the guy that stood out to me. That's honest to God. I wasn't surprised when I got the release that Impact signed you. So again, congratulations. I appreciate you joining the show here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And I will see you over there at Winter Warfare this weekend.